As a child, I was taught to be afraid of the friendly stranger in the black sedan who would pull up and offer me candy and take me for a ride. I was taught to be afraid of those who were different than I was, particularly those of a different color. I was educated on the unspeakable horrors that lay within public restrooms. I was taught not to talk to strangers. I was taught how to lock my car doors when we traveled through certain neighborhoods in certain cities. I was taught about the evils of girls, to avoid them at all costs. They could only cause trouble. I was taught not to ask too many questions, particularly of those in authority like teachers or police. I was taught in school that the communists were going to drop a bomb, and so I needed to know how to hide under my desk. I was taught to fear the hickory switch, the yardstick, the belt. I was taught to fear my mother's wrath. In all of that, I learned to play it close to the vest, to not share anything of who I was or what I could do, to keep my talents to myself. And so I found myself digging a big hole and crawling in, doing just what was necessary, and hiding out in a world of books and imagination. It took most of my life to undo those early days. But eventually, I discovered that I had gifts that others appreciated, things to share. I had a self that was worth giving to others. I learned about generosity and caring for brothers and sisters. And I began to experience a shifting of my image of God from that judgmental, wrathful God to a God of grace and love. It was all coming together quite nicely. And then COVID hit, and the country came unglued. And we began to fight one another, and it proved to be a very scary place. Not safe. And I found myself once again reaching for the shovel. Quarantine, shutdown, a wonderful excuse to just bury myself once again. But fortunately, or unfortunately, God sent my mom, who at times can be rather relentless. And on this one, she was. She kept pushing me out and telling me I could not hide. Next thing you know, I'm online 3 times a week, sharing the good news. And then I'm singing in public. I began to force myself to go back to carving, painting, writing. And little by little, I found myself coming back to life. Oh, I'm not living a risky life. I still wear my mask and social distance. But I found new ways to be me and to share the gifts that God has given me. Perhaps the scariest piece of all of that is that when we bury our talents, at least as I have found out, and we hide in our holes. Oftentimes our perception of God changes as well. Jesus hits at this in the parable of the talents, where he tells the story of a man who goes away for a while and leaves his estate in the care of 3 of his servants. To one he gives 5 talents, to another 2 talents, and to the third 1 talent. The first 2 invest their talents wisely and double their investment. The third buries it in a hole. When the master comes back, he gets an accounting, and he's frustrated with the servant who buried his talent in the hole. And the servant tells him that he did so because he knew the master was mean and hard. He did not sow where he reaped. He expected more. And so he didn't risk anything and gave him back what was his. The man not only loses the talent, but he loses his job as well. He got the master that he perceived. And how often we get the image of God that we perceive. We feel our lives are judged when our God is a God of judgment and wrath. We play it close to the vest, for we fear doing the wrong thing. But thankfully, in Christ, we have the God of grace, who, despite who we are and the things that can go wrong, continues to love us and take us back again and again. And he sets us free to use the gifts and the talents that he has given to us, to be generous in our very selves with those around us, that others may not only experience the wonder that is us, but see through us the wonder and the love that is God. Let us talents and tongues employ, reaching out with a shout of joy. Bread is broken and wine is poured. Christ is spoken and seen and heard. Jesus lives again, earth can breathe again. Pass the word around, loaves abound. Christ is able to make us one. At the table he sets the tone, teaching people to live and bless, love in word and in deed express. Jesus lives again, earth can breathe again. Pass the word around, loaves abound. Jesus calls us in, sends us out, bearing fruit in a world of doubt, gives us love to tell, bread to share, God Emmanuel everywhere. Jesus lives again, earth can breathe again, pass the word around, loaves abound. Jesus lives again, earth can breathe again, pass the word around, loaves abound.